This is Danaella Wivell for Jcnn. Climate change and fossil fuels have long been topics of both political and ethical consideration. With the issue of big corporations buying into coal mining rising, many institutions are backing out of financial deals with coal, oil, and gas mines. Yale University has recently spoken out about their choice to not divest from fossil fuels, despite student movement towards a divestment. Closer to home, the Uniting Church and Australia Assembly have put their money where their mouth is, divesting from corporations linked to fossil fuels. Likewise, the University of Sydney has stopped all further coal mining investments. The uni are currently weighing up discontinuing a $900,000 holding in Whitehaven Coal. James Cook University's activist group Act Now are working towards JCU's divestment from their $2.2 million of fossil fuel shares. For more on the future of JCU's investment in fossil fuels, we spoke to Act Now's founder, Jonathan Bester. Thank you for joining us, Jonathan. So, you're the founder of Act Now at JCU. Can you tell us a little bit about what your organisation do for both students and for the greater well-being of North Queensland?
Thanks for having me. Act Now was originally set up to be student activism on campus. When I first got to JCU, I was a bit surprised. I had this sort of romantic idea that you go to university, you change the world, you get out there, you save the environment, you stop wars and all the rest of it. But when I got here, it was a very subdued campus. There wasn't really that strong activism presence. So myself and a friend set up Act Now to stand up for numerous environmental and social issues. Everything from a global arms treaty to campaigning for an end to Arctic oil drilling. Those were amongst our first campaigns. And the way that we did that was student activism. That's where the students basically get out there, get really vocal, and you show corporations and governments, all the big decision makers, how much the people care about a certain issue. In terms of what it does for the community and the environment, it makes the world a better place. In terms of what it does for the students, I think it re-empowers them and gives us back something of the spirit that uni students used to have in being engaged politically and socially, as opposed to our apathetic nature that we have today.
And you have a rally coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about what your rally is for and why you use the rally movement as opposed to maybe things to sign or just putting posters up? Why the rally movement?
Over the past half year, we've been doing a lot of research into JCU and what this university invests in. Turns out that JCU has $2.2 million in fossil fuel assets, and that's only from looking at 55% of our assets. We could have much more than that. So that's $2.2 million in shares in companies including ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, BHP Billiton, lots of companies which, although they're not always bad, they have done a lot of damage to the environment in the past, and we don't want to see that continue, especially at a university which professes to be green. So we're trying to get them to take that money out of fossil fuels and put it into something more ethical, not necessarily renewable energy. What the university reinvests in is up to the university. We respect that, but we just don't want it in fossil fuels. In terms of why we use rallies, there is a lot of petitioning and postering out there, and it's good, and there's a place for that, but it's also a very lazy form of activism. It's the easy choice. Rallying is far more powerful. It grabs media attention, it empowers people, it's far more visual, and it definitely puts a lot more pressure on the decision makers. We of course do also use advertising and petitioning. We currently have about 600 signatures on our petition to the Vice-Chancellor asking her to divest from fossil fuels, but we feel that a rally is a far more powerful way to present that to her directly, and obviously it's a synergy between the two methods.
We do have Trop Eco here at JCU, and they say that they aim to educate staff and students on a range of sustainability factors, including carbon management. Now, as a student at JCU, how does this make you feel?
Sure, it does seem paradoxical at first, and look, I really like Trop Eco. I think they do some great work, and there's definitely a place for them. And Adam from Trop Eco has actually been very supportive of divestment. Obviously, he's not in the position to push it himself, but he's certainly very encouraging, and he's always given me some good advice. So I really appreciate that help from Adam and Trop Eco. But yeah, it does seem a bit strange that the university is sort of, I guess, not putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to sustainability, and that's something we want to see. You do have to keep in mind, though, around the world, only 15 universities have thus far divested. We would be 16th in the world, first in Australia, if we achieve this. So it's hardly different. And while it's not acceptable, it's also understandable. A lot of people are initially a bit uncertain about what divestment is and how it works and if it's really worth us investing our effort in. ACT now has many campaigns. We work on saving the Great Barrier Reef, lots of worthy causes. People ask me, why pursue divestment? And the simple answer is because divestment works. What happens is that large organisations like universities, rather than put their money in bank accounts, prefer to make more money out of their money by putting it into shareholdings with companies or a fund manager who then invests it for them. Now, this is all good for the university, but this also encourages those corporations, and if you're investing in fossil fuels, it encourages the fossil fuels, makes their shares higher up in the market, facilitates the development of new projects, so it can be very bad in that sense. Now, previously, divestment campaigns have included apartheid South Africa, all around the world, led by university campuses initially, corporations, governments even. Eventually, the entire world pretty much divested from apartheid South Africa in protest of the terrible practices going on there. And what this did was basically bankrupt that government and force them to end apartheid. Debatable how successful that one was, but it was definitely the start of divestment movements. After that, an end to the smoking industry in Australia. Smoking is much less big than it used to be, and the simple reason is it's no longer economically viable. Loads of institutions have it in their constitution that they can't invest in smoking. James Cook University, for example, has a clause stating we will not invest in unethical investments, including uranium mining and smoking. My question to James Cook University, though, is how many people does smoking kill? How many people does uranium mining kill? Now, how many people will global warming kill? Is it really making sense that we don't invest in smoking and we don't invest in uranium mining, yet when it comes to making big bucks from fossil fuels, where's our money? 2.2 million of it are still in fossil fuels. Obviously, $2.2 million is not a huge economic amount in the greater scheme of things. I mean, it will be a good thing for the climate, but compared to the amounts that the big universities invest, it hardly seems relevant. However, in terms of an ideological move, in terms of a public move, JCU divesting from fossil fuels will be the first domino to fall in what is to be a grand domino effect of organisations in Australia divesting from fossil fuel. I think this is a real great opportunity for both the Vice-Chancellor and the university as a whole to stand up and be leaders, be pioneers in the divestment movement, and be the first in Australia to do that.
Where do you plan on going with the divestment movement?
There's two paths we can take. We can put direct pressure on the university through further petitioning and further ways of directly showing the administration that we want divestment. And the other method is, of course, indirect pressure, where we get the news out there in the media and out there in the community, and once other people that potentially pay to go to JCU know about this, it becomes a reputation problem for the university. And when that happens, money talks, that will move out of fossil fuels. Obviously, we will continue with the petitioning, but there's a lot of staff members at JCU who are also very passionate about the climate and the well-being of society and the planet. So we're going to start up an academic open letter, which is going to be a very well-written letter signed by many staff members and academics calling on the university to divest. It's kind of like a petition for lecturers, if you like. Yep. We will be continuing with our standard petitioning, and we'll be holding a Code Green Week later in the semester where we hope to make a big splash for divestment and really get the word out there. We're aiming for 2,000 signatures on our petition by that time. That'll be 10% of the total JCU student population across all campuses. The campaign's also moving up to Cairns. Speaking of other campuses, I've got some people starting it up there, so it's soon going to be a war on multiple fronts. Really exciting to have them on board, and I think it shows more than anything that people everywhere doing everything really want divestment. You know, we have everyone from engineers to med students to scientists, obviously, to art students, all part of ACT Now, all want this to happen because they all care about the outcome.
Definitely. It sounds like you're really giving all of the students and the staff of all JCU campuses a great opportunity to get in, fight for divestment, and really help the environment. Thanks so much for joining us today, Jonathan. Really appreciate it.
No problems.
I spoke with Epic Party President and Director of Code Green Week, Andrew Saman, on what JCU's divestment would mean for students.
ACT Now, their ideas, I think they're fairly consistent. You wouldn't say that they're left or right. I think they're pretty mainstream, because if you look at opinion polls, the vast majority of Australians are in favour of protecting the environment, and I think that was reflected recently in the decision with Townsville Port to not dump at the reef. So that's a great thing that he's doing. It's very mainstream, and in terms of how it ties in with our election, we consider ourselves to be fairly normal people as well. And we're uni students who want to bring back uni student life. I know it's been said 1,000 times before, but it's very unfortunate that I myself have been at university 9 years. I'm doing my 4th degree. I do work. I know what I want to do in life. But I've noticed over the time I've been here, and many people have commented on it, that uni life's going down. So not only are we mainstream, and John's ideas are mainstream as well, we believe in university life. We believe in the sense of community. And what he does is very much building community. He's building a wide range of uni students to come together, get to know each other, be friends, and stand up for what they believe in. And that's a very traditional university idea. So how would divestment affect JCU? I think it would add to JCU's reputation, because JCU, it attracts a lot of students using, I guess, a business model, you could say, of being a green university and being a university which encourages Indigenous participation. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander is JCU's business draw cards. So if you follow through with divestment, you are intimately stating to all your student body, to all the potential students or customers, and to the world that your money is where your mouth is. You are an environmental university, and you also show the potential future and current Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students that you do care about the environment. And the environment for them, the land, is intimate to their mental health. And their disconnect from the land and they're seeing it being degraded destroys their livelihood and their emotional well-being. So I think it can only help JCU. And it'll make them a lot of money, because green energy and technology is the way of the future.
James Cook University issued the following statement in regard to a possible fossil fuel divestment. James Cook University regularly reviews its investment strategy. The university currently implements its investments via Mercer's multi-manager funds, and we have been in touch with Mercer regarding the issue. If ACTNOW is successful in getting JCU to divest from fossil fuels, it could be amongst the first universities in the country to do so. For more information on JCU's divestment, go to ACTNOW's group on Facebook. This is Danaella Wivell reporting for JCNN.